All right, ready to dive into something pretty cool. We're looking at how to learn English fast.
Yeah, fast.
And we've got this awesome guide. It's a 2024 guide all about learning English quickly.
That's right, a 2024 guide.
And it's got all these strategies and a bunch of free resources you can use.
Free is good.
Oh, yeah, absolutely free. I mean, who doesn't like free stuff?
Nobody I know.
Exactly. And one of the things that I thought was really cool
Yeah.
is that they emphasize this idea of immersion.
Immersion.
Like you're not just studying grammar.
Right.
You're not just, memorizing vocabulary lists.
You're really surrounding yourself with the language.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they talk about things like watching movies.
Oh, I love that. Listening to music.
Music is so powerful.
Even just changing your phone settings to English.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right. But is that really enough? I mean, can you really become fluent just by, like, osmosis?
Well, it's not magic, but it's definitely got some science behind it.
Oh, okay.
You know how kids learn language?
They're just surrounded by it constantly. They're absorbing it naturally. And immersion kind of recreates that.
That makes sense.
It exposes you to, like, real-life contexts, natural rhythms. You even pick up the cultural nuances.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and studies show that it actually can rewire your brain, make it easier to actually think in English.
So it's like rewiring those circuits, making English the default?
Exactly.
Yeah, that's incredible. So, this guide jumps right into why learning English fast is so important these days.
Well, yeah, because we live in a world that's totally connected.
And it feels like English is everywhere, right?
It's everywhere.
Like business,
Technology.
even pop culture.
Oh, yeah.
Seems like everyone's speaking English.
And the guide says over 1.4 billion people speak English globally.
Wow, that's a lot of people.
That's almost a fifth of the entire planet.
That's incredible. So it really is like
It's not just a nice skill to have, it's basically essential.
essential.
In so many different areas of life.
Okay, so it's not just about knowing, like grammar rules.
Right.
It's about, being able to communicate effectively.
It's about confidence, expressing yourself clearly, connecting with people from all over the world.
It's a good point.
Think about it. What doors could open for you if you could speak English fluently?
Yeah, no, that's a really good point.
Your dream job, travel adventures, even deeper conversations.
Right, with friends and family maybe who speak English.
Exactly, yeah.
So we've established, like, English is important, but let's talk about immersion.
Okay.
How do we actually do that? Does this guide actually give us some, like, concrete examples?
Oh, it's packed with actionable tips.
Okay, good.
One of the simplest ones is watching movies and TV shows in English.
Okay, I can see that.
Start with subtitles if you need to.
Yeah.
Work your way up to watching without them.
That makes sense, but I'm not a huge movie buff.
Okay, no problem. What about music?
Music, yeah.
Listening to English songs?
I do that anyway.
You probably already do, right?
Yeah.
But are you paying attention to the lyrics?
Probably not as much as I should be.
Exactly. That's the key.
Okay, but what if I want something a little more academic?
Oh, okay. Well, the guide has a really interesting suggestion for that.
Yeah.
Switch your phone and all your other devices to English.
Oh, wow.
It seems like a small change, but you're interacting with your devices all day long.
That's true.
So it's constant exposure, and it helps you learn practical vocabulary.
I actually tried that once.
Yeah.
And it was harder than I thought it would be.
Yeah, it can be.
Like, I felt like I was, fumbling around in the dark.
But that's part of the point.
Yeah.
It pushes you outside of your comfort zone.
It forces you to think in English.
Exactly. And the guide also really stresses that speaking practice is essential.
Yeah.
I can see that.
I mean, it's one thing to understand English, but actually speaking, it is a whole other ballgame.
Yeah.
That's where the rubber meets the road.
Okay, that makes sense, but I'm going to be honest.
That's the part that terrifies me the most.
I get it. It's intimidating.
It is.
Thinking about stumbling over your words, making a fool of yourself.
Right, like everyone's judging me.
It's understandable to feel nervous.
Yeah.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
Mistakes are a crucial part of learning.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Everyone makes them, even native speakers.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, the key is to just change your perspective. See, mistakes not as failures, but as opportunities to actually learn and grow.
Okay, that's a good pep talk. But how do we get over that fear? Like, how do we actually start speaking with confidence?
Well, the guide has some practical tips for that, too.
Okay, good. I like practical.
So one of the best suggestions is to use language exchange apps.
Oh, interesting.
You connect with native English speakers who are learning your language,
That's cool.
and you practice with each other.
So you're both kind of in the same boat.
Exactly. It's a win-win. You
Okay.
get to help someone else while improving your own skills.
I like that idea. But I've always been a little skeptical of those apps.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just feel like, can you really have like a real conversation when you're both still learning?
You'd be surprised how much you can communicate,
Really?
even with limited vocabulary.
Mm.
It's all about being creative, right?
Right.
Using gestures, finding ways to get your point across.
That's a good point.
And those imperfect conversations,
Yeah.
that's where you actually really start to internalize the language.
So it's like you're not aiming for perfection.
Right.
You're just aiming to get your point across.
Exactly. And another great option is to join conversation clubs,
Oh, okay.
either online or in person.
Okay.
It's a really supportive environment to practice with other learners.
So you're not just on your own.
Exactly. And you
Right.
often get feedback from experienced facilitators.
So cool.
So it's a really good way to improve.
Okay, I'm starting to like warm up to this whole speaking thing a little bit.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about the basics, right?
Vocabulary and grammar.
Of course, the building block.
Yeah, are those just secondary in this like fast track approach?
Not at all. The guide actually emphasizes their importance,
Okay.
but it takes kind of a different approach.
Oh, okay.
Instead of overwhelming you with like endless word lists
Yeah.
or really complicated grammar rules,
right.
it advocates for a more strategic and targeted approach.
So it's not about like memorizing the entire dictionary.
Exactly.
Okay, that makes me feel better.
The key is to focus on those most commonly used words and phrases first, especially those that are relevant to your personal goals.
Okay.
So, for example, if you're learning English for business,
Right.
you're going to prioritize business terminology
That makes sense.
over, say, words related to, gardening or cooking.
Yeah, because those aren't as useful for me.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so make it relevant to my life.
Exactly. And when it comes to grammar,
Yeah.
the guide really encourages you to just relax a little.
Oh, don't get bogged down by trying to be perfect.
Right.
Focus on understanding the basic rules
Mm-hmm.
and applying them in context through practice.
Okay, so not perfection, just understanding the basics.
Exactly.
Okay, that takes a lot of pressure off because grammar can feel very intimidating.
I know.
But how do we know which grammar rules to prioritize?
Well, the guide recommends starting with the present tense,
Okay.
past tense, and future tense,
Mm-hmm.
because those are the most fundamental for basic communication.
Okay, those are the building blocks.
Exactly. And there are also tons of great online grammar tools
Oh, okay.
that can help you along the way.
Cool.
Some of them even like gamify the learning process.
Oh, nice.
So it's not just boring drills and exercises.
It's actually fun.
Yeah, it's now.
Okay, I'm sensing a theme here. This guide is all about making English learning fun.
Accessible, enjoyable,
Yeah.
as much as possible.
I like that. Okay, I'm really excited to hear about these free resources.
Yes.
You mentioned them earlier.
The guide's got a treasure trove of them.
Okay, let's dive into that.
Let's do it.
I'm eager to see what we can find. But first, we're going to take a quick break.
Okay.
Be sure to tune back in for part 2, where we'll explore all those tech-savvy ways to turbocharge your English learning journey.
Awesome. We're back and ready to unlock that digital toolbox to really power up your English learning.
Yeah, last time we were talking about immersion.
Creating that environment where you're surrounded by English.
Right, and how that's like creating fertile ground.
Exactly.
But you got to plant some seeds, right?
Perfect analogy, and that's where all these free resources come in.
Okay, yeah, we were talking about apps, websites,
Oh, welcome.
even YouTube channels that can make it more engaging.
And effective and affordable, too, which is always good.
Yeah, so let's start with apps.
Okay.
This guide mentions a bunch. Duolingo,
Duolingo's great.
Memrise,
Mm-hmm.
Hunky, HelloTalk,
HelloTalk's really cool.
Busuu, are they all basically the same?
They all have different strengths and focus on different things.
Okay, so tell me about Duolingo.
Duolingo is a fantastic entry point, especially for beginners.
Yeah, I've heard of it, but I always thought it was kind of like too simple.
It's great for a foundation,
Okay.
but you're right, you will need to supplement it.
Okay, to get to fluency.
Exactly, to reach that fluency level.
Okay, what about Memrise?
Memrise focuses more on vocabulary,
Oh, vocabulary building.
and it uses this technique called spaced repetition.
Space repetition. Now that sounds interesting.
It's based on how our brains actually form memories.
Okay.
So instead of cramming everything at once,
Right.
you review the material at increasing intervals.
So you space it out.
Exactly, and it tricks your brain into thinking that it's important information.
Oh, so it's like a workout for your brain.
It is. You're building those memory muscles.
Okay, I like that analogy.
What about Anki? Have you heard of that one?
Anki, I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
Anki's all about flashcards,
Flashcards. Oh, okay.
but with a digital twist.
Digital flashcards.
It uses spaced repetition, too,
Okay.
but it gives you more control over what you're learning.
Oh, cool.
You can create your own flashcards.
So if I was struggling with phrasal verbs, for example,
Yes.
I could make a whole set of flashcards just for phrasal verbs.
Exactly. So you can target your weak spots.
Okay, and drill them until they stick.
Exactly.
All right, that sounds pretty good.
Now, remember those language exchange apps we talked about?
Yeah, with HelloTalk.
HelloTalk is a great example.
Okay.
You connect with native speakers.
But can you really have a meaningful conversation?
You'd be surprised. Even
No.
with limited vocabulary.
Okay.
It's about being creative, using gestures, finding ways to get your point across.
Right, right.
And the guide says those imperfect conversations, that's where you really start to internalize the language.
Okay, so it's not about being perfect.
Right.
It's just about communicating.
Exactly.
Okay. What about Busuu?
Busuu offers a more structured approach.
Oh. Okay, it has interactive lessons, grammar exercises, quizzes.
So it's more like a virtual classroom.
Kind of, yeah,
Mhm.
if you prefer a more guided experience.
Okay, that makes sense.
So we've talked about a bunch of different apps.
Yeah.
Are there any downsides to using apps?
Well, I guess my concern is that they can be a bit too, I don't know, gamified. Like, can they really replace,
Real life interaction.
yeah, real conversations and real life experiences?
Apps are fantastic tools, but they're not a magic bullet.
Right, they should be a supplement,
Exactly.
not a replacement.
Exactly.
Okay, so what about websites? Does this guide recommend any good websites?
Tons of great websites.
Great.
One of the best is BBC Learning English.
Oh, yeah, heard of that one.
It's a treasure trove of free resources.
Okay.
Grammar lessons, vocabulary builders, news articles, even podcasts.
Cool, but isn't it, like, very British?
Well, it covers British English,
Right.
but it also has resources for American English.
Oh, okay.
And other varieties, too. Okay, I guess it's good to be exposed to different accents.
It's really beneficial.
Okay, any other website gems we should know about?
Coursera is a great one.
Coursera. I've used that for other subjects,
Mm-hmm.
but I never thought about English courses.
They have a wide range of courses.
Oh, okay, cool. I'll have to check that out.
Some taught by professors from top universities. Pretty cool,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, okay. I'm a very visual learner, so I like video.
Oh, you're in luck.
Does the guide recommend any YouTube channels?
It has a whole section on YouTube channels.
Okay, cool.
One of my favorites is English Addict with Mr. Duncan.
Mr. Duncan, yeah, I think I've seen his videos.
He's incredibly engaging and entertaining.
Okay.
He creates fun, informative videos on all sorts of topics.
So like grammar and vocabulary?
Grammar, vocabulary, British culture, current events.
Okay. Yeah, I'll check that out. What else?
Rachel's English is fantastic for American pronunciation.
Oh, okay.
She breaks down those complex sounds, gives really clear tips.
And of course, there's the BBC Learning English YouTube channel.
Oh, of course, can't forget that one.
Right, with tons of great videos.
So many videos.
Okay, so we've got apps, websites, YouTube channels.
A whole digital
It
toolbox.
seems like there's a resource for every learning style.
There really is.
But with all this technology,
Mm-hmm.
can we really say that learning English fast
Right.
is just about downloading a few apps
No, not at all.
and watching some videos?
Technology can really speed things up,
Okay.
but it's not the whole story.
Right.
You still need to have those core strategies.
The immersion, speaking practice,
Exactly.
vocabulary, grammar.
It's like having a fancy sports car.
Oh, okay.
It can get you there faster,
Yeah.
but you still need to know how to drive.
Okay, I like that analogy.
So let's talk about something that's really important,
Okay.
but often gets overlooked.
Yeah.
Context.
Context, what do you mean by context?
Well, a lot of people think learning a language is just about memorizing words and grammar rules.
Right. But those are really only meaningful within a context.
Oh, okay, I see what you mean.
Have you ever crammed for a test?
Oh, yeah, of course.
memorized a bunch of facts
Yeah.
and then forgotten everything a week later.
Oh, totally. Like my brain just hits delete.
Because you were learning those facts in isolation.
Right.
They didn't have any meaning to
We
you.
weren't connected to anything.
Exactly.
Okay.
So how do we apply this idea of context to language learning?
Yeah. How do we do that?
One of the most powerful ways is to focus on phrases and idiomatic expressions.
Oh, idioms. Yeah, those can be tricky.
They can.
Like kick the bucket
Exactly.
doesn't actually involve any buckets
Not at all.
or kicking, but it means to die.
Exactly. So you need to understand them in context.
Right. So how do we learn them in context?
Well, you don't want to just memorize lists of idioms.
Okay.
The best way is to be exposed to real English content.
Oh, yeah.
So when you encounter a new phrase in a book or a movie or even a conversation,
Don't just look up the definition.
right.
Try to figure out the meaning from the surrounding words.
Oh, so use the context.
Use the context. Be a language detective.
Okay, I like that.
Now, what about thinking in English?
Thinking in English, doesn't that just happen naturally as you get more fluent?
It can, but you can also actively train yourself.
Oh, okay.
The guide suggests starting small,
Okay.
like just describing your surroundings in English.
So like instead of thinking, oh, that's a beautiful tree,
Mm-hmm.
I would think, that's a beautiful tree, but in English.
Exactly. It sounds simple,
Yeah.
but it starts to shift your thinking patterns.
Okay.
You can also try to narrate your daily activities in English.
So if I was making breakfast,
Mm-hmm.
I would think, okay, now I'm scrambling the eggs.
Exactly.
Now I'm putting the toast in the toaster.
You're giving yourself a running commentary.
Yeah, all in English.
Exactly.
Okay, so I'm starting to see how all of this fits together.
It's all connected.
We have immersion, creating this environment. We have tech tools to help us practice.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have these strategies to really make it stick.
Exactly. But even with all that,
Yeah.
the biggest hurdle is staying motivated.
Oh, yeah, motivation is key.
Because learning a language takes time and effort.
Yeah,
And it's easy to lose steam.
right, especially when you hit those plateaus.
And luckily, the guide doesn't shy away from this challenge.
Okay, good, I'm glad.
It offers a lot of practical advice.
Okay, I'm excited to hear it, but we're going to have to save that for part 3.
All right, we'll pick it up there.
Be sure to tune back in as we uncover the secrets to staying motivated and reaching your English learning goals.
We'll see you there.
Okay, so we're back, and I'm ready to talk about motivation,
Yeah, keeping that fire burning.
because we've covered a lot, right?
We have immersion, tech tools, even thinking in English.
Right. Like,
Yeah,
it's amazing, all these different strategies.
it's a lot.
But learning a language, it's a marathon.
It's not a sprint.
Not a sprint,
Yeah.
it's a marathon. It takes time and effort.
It does.
And it's so easy to lose motivation along the way.
So how do we stay motivated?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
That's what we're going to tackle in this part.
Okay, because I think we've all been there.
We all have
You start something with all this excitement,
so much energy.
and then a few weeks later,
It fizzles out.
it fizzles out. So how do we prevent that from happening?
Well, the guide emphasizes the importance of setting SMART goals.
SMART goals, what are
So
those?
specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound.
Okay, so break it down for me.
It's easy to feel overwhelmed when you think about learning a whole language.
Oh yeah, it's daunting.
It is, so you break it down into smaller chunks.
Okay, so instead of saying, I'm going to conquer English,
Right?
I might say, this month, I'm going to master the present perfect tense.
Exactly. Or instead of just watching a movie,
Mm-hmm.
set a goal to learn, say, 5 new phrases from it.
Okay, so smaller goals that you can actually achieve.
And you get those small victories along the way.
So it's like checking things off a list.
Yeah. It gives you that sense of progress.
It makes you feel good.
And that keeps you motivated.
Okay, I like that. But what about when I make mistakes?
Oh, mistakes are inevitable.
They are.
But the guide says to see them as valuable feedback.
Okay, feedback, not failure.
Exactly. Each mistake highlights something you can improve.
Oh, okay, that makes me feel a little better.
It's like in a video game, right?
Oh, yeah.
You learn from each defeat and you level up.
Okay, I like that. But sometimes it's not even mistakes, it's just feeling stuck.
Hitting a plateau.
Yeah, like I'm not making any progress.
It happens to everyone.
So what do you do in those moments?
The guide says to remind yourself why you started learning English.
Go back to the original motivation.
Exactly. What are your goals? What doors will fluency open?
Right, because it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day and forget about the bigger picture.
Write down your goals. Make a vision board. Visualize yourself speaking English confidently.
So remind yourself why you're doing it.
Exactly. That can really re-energize you.
Okay, but what about, like, external factors?
Mm.
Are there things we can do, like outside of ourselves?
The guide highlights the power of community,
Oh, okay.
connecting with other English learners.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, through online communities,
Yeah.
language exchange groups, even in-person
We
classes.
have a support system.
Exactly. People who understand your struggles, who celebrate your wins.
You're not alone.
Exactly. And that can make a huge difference.
Yeah, because, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go together.
I love that saying.
But what if you're, like, an introvert?
Mm-hmm.
Like, the thought of joining a group just makes me anxious.
Totally understandable. The guide also suggests finding a language partner or a tutor.
Okay, so one-on-one.
You get personalized feedback, more accountability.
Right, and it doesn't have to be, like, a formal thing.
No, it could be a friend, a family member who speaks English.
Okay, so find what works for you.
Exactly.
But what about those days when you're just feeling blah?
We all have those days.
Like, even the thought of looking at an English book.
The guide suggests switching things up.
Okay, yeah, like what?
If you've been doing a lot of grammar,
Mm-hmm.
watch a fun movie in English or listen to some music.
Oh, okay, so add some variety.
Exactly. Make it enjoyable.
Okay, and sometimes just changing your environment can help.
That's a great tip. Go to a coffee shop or even just a different room in your house.
So keep it fresh.
Keep it fresh. Keep it engaging.
Okay, so what's the final takeaway here about motivation?
The guide reminds us that learning English is a journey.
Okay, yeah, it's not a destination,
There will be ups and downs, excitement, frustration.
but it's about enjoying the process
Exactly.
and celebrating those small victories along the way
Because with the right mindset, the right strategies,
and the right resources.
you can achieve anything.
Okay, so we've covered so much ground in this deep dive.
We have, from immersion to technology to staying motivated.
And, we've given you all these tools and techniques.
Full toolkit.
But ultimately, the most important ingredient is you.
Your commitment, your enthusiasm.
So what's one small step you can take today to keep moving forward?
Think about that. Maybe listen to an English podcast.
Practice a new phrase.
Connect with another learner.
Every little bit counts.
It all adds up.
And we'd love to hear about your progress, so share your wins.
Your challenges.
Or even just your favorite no English word.
In the comments below.
And remember, you're not alone on this journey. We're all in this together.
We're a community.